Hello and welcome to lesson 1 of the curriculum, the Introduction to Solidworks. This is going to be part 1 of 2 parts. So in this part we're just going to be talking about the interface and getting to know Solidworks, and then in part 2 we're going to be going into creating your first part. So, and just as a reminder, this is going to be an introduction to SolidWorks, a very quick introduction to SolidWorks. So we're not going to have time to go into a lot of the more complicated things, but I recommend you still do that anyway. I'm sure I'll say that again when we're actually doing things with the parts, or when we're making things. That's what I'm saying. Okay, let's get on to it. What are we talking about today? So, we are going to be talking about creating new opening and closing files, and then what's in a blank document, because that's important. It's important to know how to open and close a file, although I think that's relatively simple. We're also going to be talking about how to navigate through the SOLIDWORKS workspace, the command manager, the graphics area, the file tree, and then a cool thing in the file tree where you can roll back, and it's kind of cool to see how all that works together, and familiarize yourself with the environment before we actually start putting a part together. So, let's get on with it, shall we? And here we are in SolidWorks. Now you'll see right here that I am in SolidWorks 2016. You may not be in SolidWorks 2016, you may be in an older or newer version. It really doesn't matter, because we're going to only be talking about such basic concepts. Everything should be relatively the same, with the exceptions of maybe a few icons looking different. But all the logic should be the same. So to start off here, I'm actually going to unpin that because I had that pinned. This is not the first time I've recorded this. Right up here we have the menu bar, so you can do your file view and tools and such. You also have your new open buttons here, as well as over here on the side. So if the SolidWorks actually has some built-in tutorials. But let's get on to creating a new document. So I'm going to come over here to the little arrow, and it's going to pop out and just pin that so it doesn't get in the way. And it's kind of useful. Up to you though. So I'm going to create a new document. And right here, as you'll see, we're going to have a part, assembly, and a drawing. These are the three main things you can create in SolidWorks. A part is just a single part. Assembly is a collection of parts. And then a drawing is a 2D representation of a part or assembly, or you can also add in your own annotations and such. There's also the tutorials that SolidWorks has built in, although I am providing you with tutorials, but if you'd like more information, feel free to go there. Oh, I don't want to pin that. I'm going to go back to new. Down here there's also an advanced button. You don't really need to worry about that. It's essentially the same thing, except it allows you to have more templates to start out with. But you can still part assembly drawing. Anyway, that's off topic and advanced. Let's get on to creating a part. So click on that or click OK. And look at that, there's nothing here. Isn't that great? That's actually not the case. You'll see that I'm going to show these because by default they are hidden, but we actually have 3 planes extending two-dimensional planes. We have 3 of them, one for the X, Y, and Z coordinates down here, which you can see. And I should first say this right here that we're looking at, where the planes are, this is called the graphics area. Up here is the command manager, and over here is the file tree. Yep. One thing I'm actually going to do now that you may or may not want to do is I'm going to go to options, and I can never remember where it is. View it is, there we go. Reverse mouse wheel direction. This is a personal preference, but I like to be able to zoom in while scrolling forward. But that's up to you if you want to change that. So we have our planes. We have the top, front, and right plane, standing for the top of the part, the front face of the part, and the right side of the part. We also have the origin, which is just a center point where all of the planes meet. So this is interesting and all, but you don't really get a sense of what this all can do, and I'm also navigating around, so let's go talk about that. But first, let's look at a cool part that we can navigate around. So this right here, as it loads, yep, is a mechanical sculpture that I worked on a little while ago. It's not in a complete state right now, and some of the parts are hidden, so you can kind of get a better look at it, and it's kind of interesting to look at. So right now you can start orbiting around the part by using the middle click, as you can see down here, and orbit around. You can either zoom with your mouse wheel, or you can zoom by middle clicking and shift. You can pan with middle click and control, and then you can also rotate your view with middle click and alt. And rotating your view is especially helpful because if you're doing something like this and you've got your model on its weird side, then you can come around and rotate. So that's helpful. And then another thing to keep in mind is when you zoom, it's going to zoom in at the location of your cursor. So zoom in, zoom out, etc. Now I'm actually going to open up another file, which is the part that we're going to make in the next part of this lesson. So we'll be making this. And I'm going to just show the file tree, and the command manager. So up here, these two tabs are the main two tabs you're going to be using, where you have your extrude and all your features, which we'll talk more about this in the next part when you're actually building something. But over here in the file tree, you can see that Solidworks has a list of features. So first you start off with the extrude and the fillet and the cut and then another extrude and such. And just so you can see, you can roll this back all the way to the beginning, and you can just step forward, or you can step back if you want to. There you go. So that's the rollback feature. And that'll make sense once we actually start building a part. So now we should close files because that's important as well. So you can go to File, Close, or could do Control W. And I don't want to save this. There's no need, and I don't want to save this either. This is an assembly, by the way. And another thing to note is that SolidWorks can have multiple windows open. So actually, if I go back and open the file I just closed, it can be useful to Control Tab, allows you to go between the two windows. But I'm going to just close that. And if you have a lot of stuff open, it's going to start slowing SolidWorks down because it takes all of the open files and puts them into memory. And you don't really need to worry about necessarily what that means, other than if you have a lot of really big stuff, it's going to start slowing down your computer, and SolidWorks isn't going to be happy. But other than that, I'm going to close this one too. I'm not going to save. As always, you can go to File, Save. When there's a document here, I actually closed the document just now, so I have nothing to save. But with that, that concludes part 1 of lesson 1. I will see you in the next part. Bye-bye.